Writers Chat. This is the place where we talk about all things writing for writers and by writers, and we're really glad you're with us today. We got about 19 or 20 here live, which is great, and those of you that are watching the replay, we're really glad you're with us today. This is exciting. We got a lot of material to go over, so I'm going to turn it over right away to Johnny, who is going to be acting as our host today, and introduce our speaker, and because I'm very excited to hear our topic today. Johnny, why don't you take it away?
Hey, thanks, Jeannie. Our guest today is Rhonda Dragomir. Really excited to have her with us. I first became acquainted with Rhonda's website design work when she designed the website for a friend of mine who's actually here in Writers Chat, one of our regulars, Tracy Crump, and did such a great job. And then we had Rhonda design our website for the Mid-South Christian Writers Conference, and it looks beautiful. And she did such a great job that I very eagerly handed over the design of our brochure and flyer, which I had been doing, and it looked like I had been doing. So we needed a much more professional look, and Rhonda now does that too. So it's been really exciting to have her as part of doing that kind of stuff for the Mid-South Christian Writers Conference, and she does a fantastic job. So I'm always happy to recommend her to other people who need website or graphic design work. Rhonda is a graduate of Asbury University. She has her degree in social work. She's a freelance writer as well as doing website and graphic design. She and her husband live in Wilmore, Kentucky, the heart of bluegrass country, which feels so much like home. So she says on her website, she writes Bible studies and devotionals, and she's working on her historical, which she was telling us a little bit about before we started the recording. So Rhonda's here to talk to us today about Microsoft Word, which is my nemesis. I am still a great WordPerfect fan, even though I no longer have it on my laptop, and because nobody uses it. You have to use Microsoft Word if you're going to be part of the publishing community. It is a must. WordPerfect's better. I will say it is still better. But Rhonda, tell us how we can make Microsoft Word work for us.
Well, thank you, Johnny, for that gracious introduction. I do enjoy teaching other people what I've learned. And the whole idea of writing and becoming a writer, I thought, well, I'll just sit down in front of my computer and I'll open Word and here I'll go. But then I learned as I've been going along that so many things can be automated that will make my life a lot easier. I also worked in an office where anytime Word did something naughty, people were on the phone to me, please come to my office and tell me what it did. Now, last week was my first time at Writers Chat, and last week you were wearing different hats, the hat of editor. So here's my homage today. The Western theme that I have devised for today.
I love it. I wish I had a Western hat. I was thinking that this morning. I need one.
It's supposed to curl up and be really cute, but it just kind of looks a little dopey right now. But
I like it.
Hair is messy later. Just remember, I donned a hat for your entertainment.
Thank you.
Okay. So I've titled our workshop today, Taming the Bronc. Because how many of you just chat and type in the chat room, if you have ever been bucked off by Word and landed in a pile of manure, yes, that's me. That's me. Because I have been bucked off so many times, and I will just stare at the screen, what on earth just happened, and how can I keep that from happening again? And so what I've learned is just by getting in there and riding until I am saddle sore. And sometimes that is just the way it is. And if you're going to be a writer, you must learn how to tame Word.
Yes.
If you cannot tame Word and your manuscript is submitted to your editor with a lot of formatting errors and mistakes, you're going to end up in the slush pile. So professional formatting makes you look like a professional writer, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you develop certain skills, you can save yourself so much time and spend time writing rather than trying to figure out why your words don't show up on the page the way you want them to. So a small investment now in learning these basic skills will pay you just huge dividends later, and you'll have a mostly tamed. I'm not going to guarantee you're ever going to tame this beast completely. I have not. I don't expect that you will either. But we're going to make a lot of progress today to learning how to ride this particular wild animal. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is invest in a licensed copy of Microsoft Word. That is a great tip, because some people are like, I'll just use Google Docs. I'll use OpenOffice. It's just as good as Word, and it's free. There's only one problem. The freebies are probably going to land your editor in the pile of manure, because sometimes you cannot harness and use the automated features in Word. Your editor knows Word much better than you, and they've seen it all, and they've seen everything. So sometimes if you're some kind of expert, you can get away with using something besides Microsoft Word. But I will tell you, investing in Microsoft Office, and especially Word, it's an investment in your career, and it's an investment worth making. There are some shortcuts that pay off, some of them don't. So I will say, use Microsoft Word. Find out what version of documents your editor wants to see. Some people have Word from 97 to 2003. They have that version and they love it. There are two different kind of Word files, and you need to know this. Some of them save. When you save them, it saves with a file extension .doc.
Mm-hmm.
The newer versions of Word save .docx. In my critique group, I'm in a critique group with Tracy Crump. We save to the Word 97 to 2003 format because some folks don't have an updated or the most updated version of Word. So I'll be working today in Word. I have a subscription. You can subscribe to Microsoft Office. I use Office 365. And I will have that subscription is the version that I'll be using today, and it is the most up-to-date version. If I'm showing or demonstrating you something you're like, wait, I've never seen that before, you can probably guarantee that it's a difference in the versions that we're using. Now, I'm going to be working today in the Windows environment. If you have a Mac, you're on your own. You're going to have to learn how to adapt, but I think the basic commands in Word are always the same. So I'm going to try to share my screen. We'll see how this works. I'm new at Zoom, so we'll see if I can share my desktop with you today.
There you go.
This is really interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of some of these. I'm going to bring up a copy of Microsoft Word, and I'm going to show you how to customize some of the editing tools. I'm just going to get rid of this for now. How many of you have ever seen a page like this and you're like, what is going on? Well, I'm going to show you, some of you see a page like this and you're like, where are even my menu commands, okay? So what I'm going to do first of all is just give you a basic orientation to the tools that are at your disposal. In fact, I'm going to use a different document here. I'm going to use my sample document. And this is some of my writing. It's the historical fiction that I'm writing. But if you open Microsoft Word and you say, I don't even see commands, I've been called to offices saying, where's my menu bar? Look right here. If you see right next to the Help Me button is this little arrow, and it shows you what I will call the ribbon, okay? And in the ribbon here, you'll see across the top, these are what I will call tabs. So if I say go to such and such a tab, those are the tabs that you go to. This area of the menu bar here is called the ribbon, is what they call it. And the ribbon on each tab is different. You see it has different commands and so forth if I click across the tabs. So the section under each of them has command choices. And the arrow on this little bottom of the right shows you other things within it. Now on the ribbon here, here's the font command. If I click this little arrow, it will open what I will call a dialog box. If you see this dialog box, it gives you all of these commands that you can use. But before we even get in to the formatting of this document, I want to show you something you will hug me later. I'm telling you, if we're in the West, you're buying me a sarsaparilla, okay? Because this is really important. When you make certain choices on this ribbon in Word, they will come up as defaults. Every time you open Word, it's going to do this, and you want it to do some of these things. Now, if we're in the Wild West, I'm going to give you a canteen. And sister and brother, if you are in the desert and you are dying, you're going to want something, some water in your canteen. Okay, so if you see here, I'm putting my mouse up on what I'm calling the ribbon, and I'm going to use something called a right click. If you don't know what a right click is, you've got to learn right click. Right click gives you access to commands that you cannot find anywhere else. So I'm going to right click on this menu bar, and you see what comes up? It says, it asks me if I want to customize the ribbon. Oh, indeed I do. And what it brings up is this dialog box called Word Options. Now listen, if I'm going too quickly and you can't follow all of this, just comfort yourself. This is being recorded. You can watch it through later. Just promise me you won't freeze frame on me when I have my mouth open, okay? Otherwise, you're free to watch and just pause the video and work on your own machine and find out what goes on here. The general tab here is, gives me my username and so forth. But the first thing I want to show you is some of these features here that are going to help you. Under the display tab, did you notice that, let me see if I can move this, that some of the times the view is unusual. If I open this other document that I have here quickly, you will see, let's see if we can find it. Here, let me send this one down. Oh, look at that.
I'm not going to let you do it.
That's all right. I'm going to get there. Well, sometimes I always use the print layout view. All right. Let me just do this. The print layout view is the one that I use, and it shows me just like if it was in a typewriter.
Right.
I love the old typewriter. I want to see the white space at the top and the bottom. Sometimes you have to click on this show the white space in order for that to really show up. And you want to see that white space at the top so your margins look right. Okay, so that's the important thing there in the display box. The other thing I want to show you is under the Save tab. Here under the Save tab, it lets me auto-recover information every 10 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but I move like lightning sometimes, and 10 minutes of work would be too much for me to lose. So I'm going to set this to auto-save every 5 minutes. So then if something happens and a thunderstorm comes through and my computer goes down, I have something saved every 5 minutes. And I always check on this keep the last auto-saved version if I close without saving. Because, if your children run in the room or something happens and you walk away from your computer, you want that last auto-saved version. Also, I have here, see where it says default file location. I want mine in documents, my documents. Some people want it to default save to the cloud. And when you're saving your document, if you don't want to click here, click here, click here, click here to save. You want one click to save. And I save all of my documents on the hard drive, and then I back up to the cloud or to a hard drive. So I'm going to be sure I keep the last autosave version, and I want it to save every 5 minutes into my documents file. Now, I'm going to show you something here under advanced. And this, I promise you, you're going to love me. You're going to hug me up the next time you see me. Because there is, here under the advanced, some people see the advanced tab and they're like, oh, I'm not an advanced user. You need to learn at least a couple of features, okay? I'm going to leave the defaults. What you're seeing right now are the defaults. But how many of you cut, copy, and paste from another document or from the internet? Right now, this says keep source formatting. If I'm pasting within the document, okay, well, I have formatted my document. Between documents, most of mine are formatted the same way. But here's pasting from other programs. It says keep source formatting is the default. Now, I'm going to close this window for a moment and just show you what that means. If I go out here onto the internet, and I'm going to get onto my Bronc writing website, and I'm going to say, oh, I want this definition for my research. I was talking to somebody earlier. We love research. Okay, I'm going to highlight a couple of these sentences. I'll just take the whole paragraph, and I copy it, Control C, and I go back to my document. Here, I'll just go to this document. Now you see my ribbon is missing, okay, and I need to view that white space. But here, what if I do this? I Control V, which is paste. Oh, there's all these crazy hyperlinks. One of the things I have to do is I want to get rid of all of those unless it is my research and I want to go. These all go to other websites. If I come back in here into the other document, let me see if I can do this real quickly. If I come into my sample document and I go again on my ribbon, and there will be a little repeat here, customize the ribbon, advanced, and I say here, pasting from other programs, look, there's my drop-down menu, keep text only. Aha, guess what's going to happen now? When I come in, and this is my sample document, and I paste it, look,
Nice.
it is formatted to what my document is. Now, I'm on the title page, so it's centered, okay? But what it has done is it has dropped all of that crazy formatting in other documents. And some of you have formatted beautifully into PowerPoint, and you want to copy that paragraph from PowerPoint into your Word document, and you get all this crazy different fonts, different sizes, different activities. If you will just do that one thing on your ribbon, when you come in and paste that into your document, you're going to get something that looks more is formatted. You won't lose your formatting. I've been in the middle of a bulleted list and pasted something off the internet, and there goes all my formatting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That one change on this tool ribbon is worth you showing up today, because that is going to save you a lot of time. Now,
That really is good. Let me ask you a question real quick, though.
yes.
So no matter what, it's going to match whatever font you have your document in. When it says
Yes.
text only, it still will go to the font you're in.
Yes, it will go to your default font. And I'm
Okay.
going to show you a little bit later how to be sure that your default font is what you want it to be.
So I can change that so it's not Calibri every time it comes up?
Yes, you can. And I will show you how to do that.
Yay!
So as you see here, you can customize this. Let me maximize this. You can customize Word according to your template. Now, I have a template open here at the bottom, and here's where I'm going to give you just a little bit of a commercial. I've developed a template that has the default font and formatting that you want as a professional writer. And I'm giving it free. I'm giving it away free to anybody in April who signs up for my newsletter. And
I did yesterday. I signed up for your newsletter yesterday.
You did? Yeah, okay, well, I will come out here and I will show you my website. It's www.dragomirgroup.com. On my homepage, if you will click on this little button that says Writer's Hacks, that's the name of my new newsletter, and sign up. Anyone who signs up in the month of April, I am going to send you a copy of this template. I'll send you a URL where you can download and have this template, because I've fixed a lot of the common problems that you have. The default font here is Times New Roman 12-point font. That is exactly what you need. Most editors are going to require. This is not the place for a fancy, beautiful font, and you love script writing and you want to put in a script font. That is something for your typesetter to do. I have done typesetting, and believe me, some of the documents I've gotten, they would just make your hair curl, okay? Even if you don't have a perm, your hair is curling, because they are all kinds of fonts, and they've made it so artistic and beautiful. And I'm an artistic person. I love art, okay, and artistic things. The typesetting is where those beautiful elements come in if you and your editor agree on them. But now I want to go back here to this ribbon, and I'm going to go in this document so you can see what I'm talking about. We talked about that advanced feature where I'm keeping the text only, but I want to show you something else here in this proofing window. This proofing window is going to give you your spell check and correcting and things, and you want these elements checked on. If they're not, by default they should be. But if somehow, you know, your 3-year-old got in and played with your version of Word, heaven help you, and these things got changed, you want it to check the spelling as you type and use contextual spelling. It can find and correct errors that you have made, marking grammar errors and checking grammar with spelling, showing readability. I'm going to show you how to do readability. When these things are checked on, they're going to be a very helpful thing to you. So, and I want to say too, before we go much further, I am going to ask you, leave a little time at the end for questions. And if I can answer a question or two, I'd love to do that. If I don't get to your question, if you will sign up for my newsletter, my email is there, and you can email me your question. And if it's a great question, I will try to feature it in one of my newsletters and answer that question for you. So at the bottom of your screen now here, I'm going to maximize this so this is the only one we see. Oh, I just love that little bar jumping down on my screen. Not. Okay, at the bottom here, you see the status bar. It tells me what page I'm on and how many words are in my document. You know, if you are, especially, I've written some flash fiction recently, and my word count is just absolutely very, very important. Well, I will tell you, I have another template open. This is my template, but I have another template open here at the bottom that I'd like to show you. It's from Splickety. And what they did is this, you know, you want to follow the guidelines of the organization or the editor where you're going to submit your piece. Get their guidelines, read their guidelines. You know, what I've given you is basic, but some of them have very special formatting. This Splickety template, they want all your name, phone number, email address, and all of this in the header. If I double click on this, see how it comes up in black and I can edit it? I could put my name in there and so forth. Just put the cursor here at the end, backspace, and here comes my name. Yes, I do know how to spell my last name. Oh my goodness. All right. I guess I've got a few little nerves. Okay. But I double click back here into the document. What happens here is only the story, if you see, only the story is there. And when I look at my word count there, they've got 96 words. So when I erase this and just start typing my story, guess what? 4 words. The word count there is very specific, okay? So this down here at the bottom is where you can say, I wonder how many words I've written. It's very easy. Word puts it right there on the bottom of the screen for you, okay? There are 335 words in this template because if I scroll down, I've typed some instructions for you on how to use this template, okay? So this templates are wonderful, but what I showed you up here on this toolbar is even more important. Now this will have the default font as Times New Roman 12. If you just open a brand new document and start typing like I did in my sample document, I'm going to get rid of this that I just put in there. You'll see what font do I have here. If I click on it, you'll see I have Calibri 11. That's the default font for Word. I don't know what Microsoft God decided to make this the standard font, but it drives you crazy. There is, and I'm going to go over this real quickly. Can't demonstrate it today, but there is a document on, and this I guarantee I will put this in my writer's hacks. There is a document on your folder called normal dot, and it's in a strange place. It doesn't want you to find it. But if you change the default font there, it will change everywhere. I'm going to demonstrate. I've done this already. I'm going to create a new document here. And when it comes up, now my view is all messed up because I disabled my view. But if I start typing, I've already got Times New Roman 12. That's because there is a document on your computer called normal. And it's what tells Microsoft Word what's normal and what's not. And if you set your default font to Times New Roman 12, that's what will happen every time you open a document. And if you're like me, you're sick of getting in there and changing the font every time you try to begin a new document.
Yeah.
That is really aggravating. So let me come down here into my text. And I tell you what, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see your questions, your chat questions. So if you're trying to reach me by chat, I'm sorry. You'll have to wait until I stop sharing my screen.
I can see them though. So if anyone has a question, make sure that I'm scrolling through. I don't see anything right now, but please, be sure and ask, and we'll see what we can.
Okay. The other thing I want to show you before I actually get into document editing and typing is this here. This is called your quick access bar. See this little command right here? Undo. You saw me delete something. If I'm like, I didn't want to delete that text. You will love me if you see this little button here, undo. It's back. Whoa, praise the gods. Praise God in heaven, my text is back. If you deleted something and you're like, uh-oh, where did that go? You will like that undo button. You can also customize this little quick tool, access toolbar. See the dialog box? And see where I say I want undo and redo on mine. I don't care a bit about my email, but I do want that undo and redo, because there are times, if you're like me, and it will work more than once. Let me just show you. If I click undo again, there it goes. You see, I can go back more than just one step. So that will save you some time too if you have that undo button. And I'm going to show you a keyboard shortcut if we have time today that will help you know how to, how do I undo what I just did? Because, that is really not what I wanted. Now, one thing you can do, if you have an old document like this is an old document, and I have given it this document some formatting mistakes, and I'm going to show you how to correct them on this document. The first mistake I see is, I did this before I set my default font. If I click and hold down on my keyboard, hold down Control and A, guess what it just did? It highlighted all my text all at once. So I come up here and I say, I want my font. Some of you are very familiar with how to do this because you've done it so much.
Yes.
I want my font to be New Roman and size 12. And now there, I've changed my font. Okay, so the template, if you open a template, it helps you with all of this. But even the best template isn't going to save you from some formatting mistakes. And I want to show you those formatting mistakes today so that you don't make them. Now, first of all, let's just see, what does this template look like? Well, it's got 1-inch margins all around. If I look at my page layout and my margins, I have set it to normal margins, 1 inch all around. Don't be cutie pie and try to give it mirrored margins like it's a book. Okay, just regular 1-inch margins all around. The font is Times New Roman 12. I have this is my title page, and one thing, this template that I used has a header up here on the title page. I've been doing some reading where I have found that you don't want that header on the title page. You want it clean on the title page, and you don't want the title page in your page count. You want page 1 to be your chapter page. Okay.
That I did not know. Yeah.
Well, and I tell you what, it's not easy to do, but
yeah,
I have done it for you in my template. You have to set what's called a section break, and that is a really advanced feature. Okay, so I'm going to go back though now to the document that I was using, my sample document. And if I wanted to, I would just double click. Listen, some people are like, view, header and footer. See the view, header. No, just go to the header, hover your mouse over and double click. And when you're done, double click back in your text and you're back in your text. Okay, so headers and footers are not, they don't have to be as complicated if you will learn these shortcuts. I'd rather double click than to go into all my menu commands. Word is wonderful in one way. It gives you about 5 ways to do something. And you need to learn your favorite way and the way that works best for you. So I would come in here. I've already done this. Here's the title. This feels like self-promotion, sorry. But the title of the historical novel I'm writing, and there we go. And here's, I didn't actually do this because we're going to be on the internet with my actual city, state, zip, email address. The phone number should also be there, okay? So, but then I come in here and I'm into my chapter. Doesn't that look nice? Isn't it nice and neat? Well, it really looks wrong. And I can tell you one thing that's wrong right here. Right now, I'm going back in to customize this ribbon. I told you these things. I need those proofing tools on. Okay, let's see here. I'm not sure why they're not showing up here. I disabled some of these features so I could demonstrate them. And my proofing tools are on. Okay, well, we'll see here what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Though, aren't my indentions, aren't they beautiful?
Yes, lovely.
They're half an inch. They're half an inch. I left a little extra space here between my paragraphs so that they show, and my lines are nice and neat. There's only one problem. This is all incorrect formatting. One of the things I can do is show you how we need to format this text. Now, first of all, I'm going to format everything I've typed in here, okay? And this is only part of my first chapter. And I'm going to come up here. This is the paragraph menu. This shows you, this is the font menu. The paragraph menu shows you what the formatting is like. It digs down inside of there and says what formatting is here. So I'm going to click my little line. I'm left aligned. That's great. I should be left aligned. No indentions there. That's right. But look here. After these lines, there's 1.2 line. This is the default setting. If you've never changed this, I guarantee you've seen this before. Guess what? I don't want, no editor wants spaces between paragraphs. It makes it nice to read, okay? But I'm going to just change this. I'm going to highlight and I'm going to type in a 0, okay? So I don't want any spaces after my document. And the line spacing in my document, does anybody know? What should your line spacing be if you're sending something to an editor? Double space. Here's how you do it. Double space, okay? Because multiple at 1.15 is what the Microsoft gods decided should be default, all right? And then I want these paragraphs. Now, in the document right now, they're tabbed. This will get you the axe of death from your editor. Don't ever tab to indent a paragraph. If I say I want the first line of every paragraph indented by ½ inch, okay. There it is. That looks the way it's supposed to look, all right? So these little hints will save you from really annoying your editor. Now, I know there also should be some extra space here between the chapter number, the chapter title, and where you start your text. Now, you never use a tab to indent paragraphs. I'm going to show you here on the paragraph menu. Do you see this little? Well, he just kind of comes whenever he wants to come, doesn't he? Okay, see this little thing here? It shows me where all the paragraph, it shows me where I have spaces between lines. And here's what you want. If I had put a tab, it's going to buck me. All right, undo, undo. I went into here and I messed up some of the formatting, and I thought I was so smart to do that. But it will show you an arrow if there's a tab. Let me come down here to the bottom of my document. It shows me, this shows me where I have hit return or enter, and where I've said to start a new paragraph. It shows me how many spaces are between sentences, okay? So what I'm going to do here, and these are my returns here. You see, every time I hit that enter key, it's to start a new paragraph. That's what it's done. All right. So I can see now some of this formatting that's here. And I'm going to leave this paragraph symbol on for a little while. I don't like to proofread this way because it's cluttered.
Yeah.
When you try to see it, I'm gonna take care of my little problem here with that little bar that's going up and down. I don't know what that's all about. Something to do with Zoom. All right. So I want to be sure that this is formatted correctly. Now, how many of you learned to type in 7th grade on a manual typewriter? Okay, you have to be a certain age, like me, to have learned how to type on a manual. And when you get to the end of a sentence, what do you do? Johnny, what would you do at the end of a sentence?
I just hit enter.
Double space. You would double space. And if you see here, I have 2 spaces between these sentences. If I take it off, you see there's a little gap here. And if I want to find those and get rid of them, sometimes I still do it just very subconsciously. I'll be typing along and my brain is firing on all, and I'm going. Sometimes I will inadvertently put in 2 spaces. Or if I'm going back to edit something, sometimes the control and cut and paste doesn't work right and it leaves extra spaces. So right here, I'm going to use another feature you really must know how to use. Not just find, but replace. And you may not know this. I can find a word, like I can find overused words. I happen to know in this, how many times did I use the word sword? Okay, this is a romance. And it's historical. So I found a really neat word for a Scottish sword. It's called a claymore. All right. So I want to see how many times have I used the word sword. Now, let me just go to find first. This is really going to give me some problems. All right. That's not the way it's supposed to work. I'll tell you right now. That's what's supposed to work, okay?
Yeah.
I can only think that it didn't work right because I did not have it maximized here. So it's finding me. I've used the word sword 7 times, and it highlights them in a page and a half. Okay, that's too much. I want to replace some of these. Now I can look here at the text, or I can use this replace feature. I'm going to say find the word sword, replace it with the word claymore. I can just go to find the next. Okay, with Simon's mighty roar, let's replace it. Okay, and then it automatically goes to the next. It stops searching over here. I can bring this up again. Now I only have 6 matches. See over here? So I'm going word by word and replacing. But I'm going to show you something you may not know. You can do wholesale word replacements. But guess what it will also do? I can type in here and you cannot see it, but I'm going to click my space bar twice, find space, space, and replace it with space. All right? So now I'm going to find the next one. And guess what? It went to that space where I showed you there were 2 spaces. And I just click replace. And then it goes to the next one. See it down here highlighted in blue? Replace. I do this when I finish every chapter. Okay? Now, just see what it did? Word is so naughty. I just ended up in the dung because it went back to my old formatting. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to undo. I do not know, people, why it did that. This is what I'm telling you. This is
it has a mind of its own sometimes.
Bronco, and you're like, what did it just do? So I am smarter than Word. Hello. Okay, I will tame this Bronc. Now, another feature that when you've finished your chapter that you want to know how to use is the spell checking and grammar checking. And some of you are great at spelling and grammar, some of you may not be. So if I come in here to the review tab, I'm going to run a spelling and grammar check, okay? And it brings up, it brought up this phrase that I said, "'Tis foolish indeed to thieve with friends who are cowards." Okay? It tells me right here, this is a fragment. Consider revising it. I am the writer. I may revise, I may not. Okay? And in this case, I think I'm just going to leave it. But I'm not going to tell it to ignore all fragments. I'm going to tell it to ignore this one time. Okay? Now it brings up an unusual name. This is Norse for the name of its horse. Okay? And Vidar it's a Norse thing. That is spelled correctly. And it's asking me, now it's telling me again, it's a fragment. But I'm going to say ignore it this one time. There's another fragment. Because this is in his speech, I'm going to leave it. Okay? So I'm going to tell it to ignore it. Here, consider revising this word hurdled. For some reason, Word doesn't like it. But again, I'm the writer. I can say hurdled if I want to say hurdled. Maybe I will consider revising it. Okay, but it's showing it to me. I'm going to tell it to ignore it once. Now, do you see what it's done? Some people don't know this feature is here because they never run the spelling and grammar check. Some people don't run it because it shows them too much. They don't want to see everything.
There's a lot, yeah.
But I kind of want to see everything. So here it shows me something, though, that is really important to you as a writer, and you may not know this feature. Automatically, now you cannot just bring this up. You have to run spelling and grammar check in order to find this. It tells me how many words. It's called readability statistics. It shows me how many words, how many characters, how many paragraphs, how many sentences. Then it gives me some averages and so forth. Then guess what it shows me? Something I really want to know. Passive sentences. So how many of my sentences are in passive voice? And you know, everyone highly recommends you change passive to active voice. I've got 7% here. Now, last week we talked about self-editing, and there are I use a tool called AutoCrit that will show me passive sentences, but and so forth. But if you don't have that, you can cheat a little bit using Word by looking at these. Now it shows me reading ease, 73.7%. I have a little graphic down here that is going to show me what this means. This reading ease, a graphic, it shows me if I'm in 60 to 70, that's 8th or 9th grade reading level. This might be important for some of you. If you're writing for children, you want to know what grade level you're reading at. 60 to 50, 50 to 30, you know, college or graduate level, all right? So this flesh reading score is something that it's there, right there, and I had a 73.7%. So that's probably because of some of those strange Scottish words that I threw into my document. But it also shows me this grade level at a 6.3. Now, I've been told by several workshops I've attended, you don't want to write above a 5th or 6th grade level. And in fact, if you were to go and look, Hemingway in one of his books only wrote at a 4th grade. The Old Man and the Sea is written at a 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
So just because it's at a lower grade reading level does not mean it's not a sophisticated piece of writing. But all it means is that it's understandable. Okay? So here we are in my document. And I don't know if you noticed what I did, because I was silently panicking, if you can silently panic. My formatting went weird in the middle of some of that. And now it's back. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Sometimes you just have to be grateful and try to figure out what's going on. Okay. So I have found and replaced some of those things. But here's something else I want to show you.
Rhonda, let me ask you a real quick question before you move on. We had a question in the chat about Grammarly. Does this work? Someone wanted to know if this works as well as Grammarly.
No, the online grammar tools are much more sophisticated. they're not giving you a whole lot for free.
Okay.
And, it has some basic things. So I talked earlier, I just want to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to stop and take other questions.
Okay, great.
We're running out of time. And I still have a lot more, but we can do another
We
version.
will. We
You guys
will
want
do
to.
it.
Okay. One of the things, you find passive voice indicators. Okay, so I heard somebody say is, was, were, have, has, been, being, be, being, been. You hear these passive word indicators. I can find them. How many times did I use the word be? Oh, now it's going to show me like began. That's not what I'm worried about. But been, had been, passive voice. Okay, Benedict, it began. Had been, there's a had been again. Okay, it is showing them in a yellow highlight, so I can look through. Another one that often is used, I was reading just last night in a book, and I counted every sentence on 3 pages used a form of the word be, of the verb be, to be. Okay, so here's was. Oh, I might want to change some of these. His war horse was nowhere in sight. Okay, there's a big fat was. The young destrier, it's the name for a horse, it's one of the reasons my grade level is higher, wasn't worthless. It was lacking. Okay, all of these are passive voice. And I will tell you, just in my defense, this is not the best edit of this chapter.
It's fine for the draft, right?
I'm giving you an early draft. Okay, so I can find some of those things. Here's another thing you might want to find is I talked last week, I shared Kyle Young at Serious Writer has something called weed words. One of his weed words is the word just. Okay, so here's the words of the priest soothed Simon's heart, though they had been spoken just months ago. Well, maybe I want to change that. Maybe I want to eliminate that just. And it's funny, I made a different sample where I had added some just. Yeah, oh, there they are. They're on the first page, okay, because I added these to this draft. The haze of anger thinned just in time for Simon to see. I might want to eliminate that just. I actually probably would also eliminate the in time for, okay? But I'm self-editing here. The blade halted just inches from his neck. Look what happens if I take out just. The blade halted inches from his neck. It's a lot tighter and better written. Words like just, words like so. You can find these things in Grammarly or AutoCrit or some of those online tools, but you can also find them if you know what they are, and Kyle names them. He calls out the bullies. You can find them using the find feature in Word. Now, I think that's quite enough for today. What I would have in the future is some keyboard shortcuts that you can use that are really good. How to insert special characters. If you're writing in something that was set in French and you need that wonderful E with the accent, I can teach you how to find it and insert those very easily. But I'm going to stop my screen share now. And
all right. Well, then let's let everybody come back on, and we unmuted you and you want to be on, make sure that we let us know in the chat that we need to pick you to let you come back on if you want to be. Yeah, this is a lot of great information. I appreciate you sharing your stories and the examples. All right. If anyone else wants to come on who's not on and needs help with that, let me know and we'll make it happen. Anybody have any questions, comments? Well, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Jan?
Could you tell us again how you didn't keep your name, address, and stuff in the word count?
The setting for that.
Okay. Jan, the best way to do that is to put that information in your header.
Okay.
Okay, because the word count feature will not count whatever's in the header.
Okay, that was my guess, but I missed what you said. Thank you.
Some people like that like my template has that information at the bottom, and I'm going to amend my template. Thank you, because I could put that information in the footer on the front page and make it separate. Because I put in a section break, I can make it appear only on the first page.
I've had a problem formatting when they want the page number and your information, and I can't get it to appear on one line on the header. And for me, it looks neater if it's all in one line, just one right justified and one left justified. And I've taken to just space tabbing it out, which I know is bad.
I'll tell you what, there are very few good options for that in Word. If you want text justified on the left and justified on the right, I know an article for an article template that I opened had it that way, and it was typed there and it was so neat. And when I went in to replace, well, when I put my word count in, it didn't say word count. It had, 100,000 words, which was different spaces, and then it bumped over on the next line. I tried something yesterday in Word and I got bucked off into the manure. I'll tell you right now. Because what I did is I put a text box inside of the header, and the whole thing went wild. Because wow. I could write justify inside the text box, those two items, and I just got into all kinds of trouble. So I am personally making the decision that unless the editor requires that to be that way at the very top, I'm going to just left justify and list it. And I'm going to do that either in the header or in the footer.
I actually have a little bit of a hint for that because I used to be the coordinator for the Genesis contest for ACFW.
That was it.
Okay, yes. And almost everybody, I had to send them back to get that correct. So here's the little trick. Now, are they still doing left justified in the page on the right? Is that what you said that is what you're trying to do? Page number on the right? You go to where it says header options and you take where it's got the three. It's got type text, type text, type text. And in the left one, you put all that information. And in the right one, you put your page number. And in the middle one, because you don't type anything there, it won't show. But what I've been doing lately for my work, and I've never had a publisher send it back or say, no, I do everything right justified. And I just put my name, that / mark, and it's just my last name, Alexander / mark, the name of the title of the book / mark, page, and then do the thing for the page number. And that way you can just do it that way. But I know with ACFW Genesis, that they're really tricky and they want it a very specific way. And I always, some people, they just couldn't get it and I would end up just doing it for them because of whatever reason. But I did try to educate, but that's what I had to use was the 3.
That is a feature I need to explore. I haven't. Yeah. There's so much in Word. There's so much buried inside of there. You cannot possibly know it all. One thing I will say is you can Google almost any issue you're having and find advice from somebody. It may work, it may not, but at least you're not alone if you're having problems.
There are other people. Somebody though.
It is. And you can find my email on my website. You can email me and ask me. And if I know, honey, I'll tell you. If I don't know, I'll ask Johnny.
Yeah. Well, I only know that about the headers because of all that time as a category coordinator and working on that. So, yeah. Anybody else have a question or comment?
I put the link to all the Fluff Words. I took all of Kyle's and then I added even more Fluff Words. And I did an article for Almost an Author called "Fluff Belongs in a Sandwich." But I put the link in our Zoom chat thing.
Great,
There's a lot of words, and my word was, I forgot what my word was, but I used it like 5 times on a page or 10 times on a page. You don't realize it until you go through the Fluff Words.
Well, and maybe they're not Fluff Words. Maybe it's like me, and I use the word sword all over the place. And I'm like, I've got to come up with some different options for that.
Yes.
to do that find, you think maybe I've used, or you use a word like awesome. I've seen, even in historical fiction, they will use the word awesome. And it's every third paragraph. You can find mistakes like that on Word if you'll just search and say, how many times did I use this word, or didn't I see this before? Or a really powerful word like invincible. You don't want to use that all over the place. And if you've used it in places, you can find it with that find feature.
I want to thank you, Rhonda, because this has really helped me. And I can't wait till you come back, because I still need those shortcuts. I'd love to learn those.
They can, keyboard shortcuts, I don't know if you're like me, but I hate leaving my hands off the keyboard to use my mouse. It slows me down. And so I'm a lot faster with my fingers on the keyboard than I am on the mouse. And so I love keyboard shortcuts, and I will show them to you. I have got a keyboard shortcut for an M dash that you're going to just love. And anytime you want an M dash, it's like 5 strokes and you're in, and you keep going. And there are some little tricks like that that I can teach another time. If I receive another invitation, I'll be happy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure what our schedule is, but we will definitely have, it may be May, but yeah, we'll definitely have you in.
I'll make myself available.
Yeah, thank you. People in the chat, yes, Tina, please, we want your Word Weavers folks to watch the program. So anybody, feel free to share this once it's up. We're glad for you to share any of our recordings on your social media. So you can find it on our Facebook, in our Facebook group, on our Facebook page, and on Almost an Author. They're showing up there now too, which is really great. So, yeah, Donna. Oh, Donna's doing that for us, and we really appreciate it. Yes, yes. And then Tina asked, how do you change the default settings in the Word program? For example, fonts to Times New Roman. And Rebecca replied, Control-D, and at the bottom corner it says default font. So is that just when you're in the document, you just can Control-D and that comes up? Clarify. Oh, and now people are putting in their favorite shortcuts. All right.
Sorry. Yes, Control-D is formatting fonts at the bottom corner. It'll say default font, and that's just when you're opening any document.
Okay, great. I'm glad to know that. I really want to change that one. Bethany, is your mic working?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
Yay. Good. Oh, yes, I have a plug because on Friday we are releasing a brand new course on the Academy taught by my mom, Johnny, and Giovanna on how to organize an online writing critique group. So I'm so proud.
Oh, thank you. Glad we were able to get that done. Yes, if you want to know how to do that, Jeannie has had experience. We both have had experiences forming online critique groups and working together on local groups too. I'm saying that all wrong. Watch the course. Thanks, Beth. Anybody else? Any more questions for Rhonda? Jan.
In my documents, when I open a new one, for some reason it's justifying to the center instead of to the right as a default. How can I go back to, or to the left? How can I go back to the left?
Okay, what happens is if that is in your default settings, it will do that every time you open.
Okay.
Do you remember when I talked to you about customize the ribbon?
Yeah.
If you right click on that ribbon, I believe there is a setting under there for justification. It might be on the very first one. It might be under paragraph. Let me see if I can find it here.
I found it. Thank you.
Okay, that is one way to do it. Another way, though, and I will do this in one of my Writer's Hacks newsletters, is teach you how to change the normal template, because then it all happens in the background and you don't have to worry about it when you open the document. It's going to have those defaults just there every time you create a new document.
Thank you.
We also had a question in the chat, Rhonda, about the tab. So if someone has gone through and done tabbing and they need to switch all that to first line indent, Is there an easy way to correct that?
Well, you are speaking to someone who is a typesetter. I have gone through 150 pages and removed every tab manually. Now, what I have not tried to do, and I've grown some, you grow in your understanding. I haven't done a search and replace for the tabs. I don't know if you can search something that's not a character.
Yeah.
You can search a space. Maybe you can search
in WordPerfect.
Okay, bring it back. I'm going to have to see if I can do that, because I've never tried that, the find and replace. I know I can do it with other keystrokes, but I don't know if I can do it with a tab. But it is nasty. This is why editors are so adamant that you not use tab to indent paragraphs.
I did that in a manuscript too, and as I'm not sure how it even happened, and as I'm redoing it and moving it over, I'm having to go through and deleting those tabs. So if there is a quick way, I would love to know it as well. So I think I did finish all those and get it done. Does 3 space equal a half inch for an indentation?
No, you cannot go by spaces. Inside of Word, there are all kinds of fonts have different spacing, depending on what font you're using. A font spacing in Times New Roman does not equal Calibri, does not equal other fonts. So you cannot go by spaces. What you have to do is use that tool I told you for exactly how far you want the paragraphs indented. And standard is half an inch.
Mm-hmm. I learned that from the ACFW Genesis contest rules as well, because they really are trying in that contest to make sure you are formatting the manuscript as you should for editors and agents. So, if nothing else, entering in a contest like that or other contests can really make you do it right. And then once you've got it, you can kind of set up your own template to make sure you always have it to do from there on out.
And I will make a confession, Johnny. I entered the Genesis, not the Genesis, but the First Impressions contest, and I sent in a document that was not formatted correctly.
Uh-oh.
The moderator was kind enough to send it back to me and say, hey, can you? And I did. And I tell you, I was flaming red. I was so embarrassed.
Oh, don't be embarrassed.
It happens. It happens. But I learned a lot.
Everyone has to be sent back for one reason or another.
I learned a lot by entering that contest. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you do. All right, well, it's past 11, so we will say goodbye. If you joined us on the replay, we're so glad you're here. Join us next week, Tuesday, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. Our guests will be Bethany Jett and Victoria Durstock, and they're going to be talking about the Twitter changes. So we're really excited to get updates on that. And again, just want to thank Rhonda for being with us and sharing all these ways we can tame our Bronca when we're trying to work with Word, and what to do when we get thrown off into the manure. And as someone said in the chat, this is probably the first time a writer's chat anyone has said the word manure. So that's what we're going to do. So trivia. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're going to stop the recording now, but please stay on for the after party. Bye-bye. See you next week.